Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Now, when we dream and we go to have out-of-body experiences, it does cost a tremendous amount of energy. If your body is acidic, it costs 10 times the amount of energy. And then when you're acidic body and acidic gut, you're not going to remember the vast majority of it. So there are people that can have 8 or 10 very powerful dreams a year. And if all of those are not downloaded, you are wasting that energy every time. This is why I say it costs so much to get something that actually has memory to it. Without the memory, what is the dream experience?
And that's why I think it's so important that Andre's bringing that out yet again and explaining in the format and fashion that he does as well, is that when you've understood what mucus is and how it can store things, what acidity does, and when you look at it from a frequency perspective.
Exactly.
Frequencies perspective, and then the mechanics of this frequencies perspective, which is all of that old stuff stuck in your intestines, and that's your doorway. That's your doorway out there. What do you have to go through when you go out and when you come back, and how does that affect the conscious streams of information that you are endeavoring to integrate into this I am presence, this DNA technology, so this I am presence can be fully once again realized?
Well, it starts with understanding that the mucus layer in your intestinal tract is what is the medium for psychic energy that's coming from your food or your dreaming body to be translated to your cellular memory. That is how we can remember a dream long term. So when you have a dream that you've remembered since a kid, it's because it's in your long-term memory, in your cellular memory. So when a dreaming body is out and it comes back in, it goes into the intestinal tract and spreads between the large intestine and the small intestine, and it doesn't trigger anything other than the body to be aware that the I am presence is going to make a choice, either to stay in the body and resolve left brain, right brain dreams. This is where we have those talky dreams. This is where we have makes no sense dreams. And that's the subconscious parasympathetic working out its issues. This is where entities often feed in that transitional moment. For people that have been in sleep paralysis and have been in there what seems like hours, this is a being that's actually using the mechanics of you coming back into your body to feed on the most amount of fear. When we understand the mechanics of a clear intestinal tract and the dreaming body comes in, that entity has no space.
It has no anchorage either.
Has
because
no
it needs
anchorage.
to be a frequency specific. It needs a
Exactly.
coordinate.
Exactly.
It needs a coordinate so that it can then
And the
join and
mucus,
entangle with that
and the
coordinate.
mucus with all of its data
No
is a
coordinate, no anchor.
Exactly. The mucus also, hold on, the mucus is also enhanced by bile from our gallbladder. Gallbladder is the commanding general of the body. Oftentimes when a dreaming body that hasn't had a chance to upload memories into cellular memory in a long time comes back in and the gallbladder says, I'm going to create a whole bunch of bile that's going to mix with this mucus and try to diffuse the amount of data that's there so something can be remembered, which then creates a habit pattern of having sickness during your sleep or interruptions with heartburn, all sorts of other things that ultimately lead away from the dreaming experience because the body is overreacting to a scenario.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Saw another question here. Tulare, he said he's had a tremendous amount of allergies to chemicals, fragrances. Tulare, it really sounds like your body has reached a point where it needs to purify, that inside your gut there's probably a candida. Take a second. You're the one that I was just reading. I'm looking into you. All right, in your lower intestine, just it's like a third of a day before it be digested. There's a very significant amount of buildup of a white fungal stuff that's on some type of putrefied food that never was processed through. And it's kind of sticking to something that looks like a polyp, but it really isn't. It's like stuck to the side of the wall of your intestine, and your body is constantly trying to take it apart, and it's causing your immune system to act very weird. And these other stuff that are coming into you are, how do I put it, interacting with that putrefied spot, and you really need to clean it out. By cleaning it out, I think it would be the best thing for you to do is 3 days if you make yourself a broth. Go get some chicken bones, or go to a store that sells meat and ask for some beef bones. Stick them in 9 cups of water in a beef bone and put it on low boil, a low simmer for 3 or 4 hours. Add some garlic, some salt, and some other spices to it, but nothing else. You just the broth. And what you're going to do is, for 3 or 4 days, 2 of your meals a day will be just broth. And then the other thing is you're going to eat something that is high in fiber. That will act as a snowplow inside your body and start to break that down. If you start noticing that what you're expelling is very dark, very colored, it's time for you to consider going and doing a colonic. There's a tremendous buildup of negative energy inside that putrefied spot in your colon that I'm seeing. It's not cancer or anything like that. It's just stuck food that was never digested, that's just turning like literally this putrefied stuff that needs to get out. It really looks like somebody that you were living with was just a negative person, and you ate their food and it's stuck now. That's what it seems like to me. An expression of oh, I got a caller. Just 1 second here. And caller, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hey, George, how you doing today?
I haven't having any luck getting through to you, so sorry. I had my radio on.
Okay.
Sorry, turn it off.
So, do you have a question, or do you want
Yes,
to?
yes, I do.
What's going on?
Hey, Andrew, could I ask you a few more things about that, or could I speak about that fasting thing?
Sure, you can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, you know what's funny is remember how I was telling you that I was scared. I was kind of a little bit kind of scared to ask my neighbors about asking for any of their help heating up this brew and stuff the broth that I was going to make up. And you wouldn't believe how they just jumped at it, and I just had help from all directions. One of my neighbors supplied me with a gas burner. Another one offered some chicken bones, and and another one supplied me with a pot. And next thing you know, I was cooking this thing up, and I've got enough probably to last me a couple of weeks. I don't know how long I'm going to go, but I'm going to shoot for at least a week, and see what happens. Now, but there is one question I have about it, a clarification, because and especially after the job I did yesterday afternoon was very revealing and a reminder of how difficult it could very well end up for me to continue with this fast if I get any work involved while I'm doing it, and which is starting to happen again, thank goodness. But anyway, when I got home last night, I was as usual, my body was screaming. I mean, just screaming for nutrition and sustenance. I'm very thin, so I don't carry any extra adipose tissue that my body can draw on for energy. So that's the only thing that's got me concerned about being able to make it like into a week or two and so forth. In fact, I'm thinking about going 2 weeks, literally. I mean, I really am. But the only thing that has me worried is, like I said, this thing that my body, when I go out and do this work that's very, very physically demanding, just a couple hours, and I like need mass quantities of food to replace what I burned up.
That's the urgings.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about this broth part is if you need to begin to work, you can do that. It's all about timing your energy.
Yeah.
You're going to be looking at protein. Well, what is your protein? It can be hard-boiled eggs. It can be anything that's vegetable matter. Example, like you'll have 1.5 meals a day. You'll have broth in between there to subsidize the hunger pains, and then at the peak of the day when you know you're going to need energy, you have something that's high in fiber and energy that helps remove toxins like dandelions or salad or greens or kale, and you'll put that into a salad that has some type of oil. And that's what I call the snowplow effect in your internal gut. And what that'll do is start flushing out more of the stuff, and then the fluid that you're backing it up with will flush out more of the surface stuff. So you will get to expelling stuff faster. So you can add food. It's all about the type of protein that you're adding to yourself that converts to energy. Instant energy in one aspect.
What my body required to feel satisfied.
Right.
And when I got back, my body required a sandwich, which had some chicken and some steak in it and some peas and stuff like from split pea soup mixed in it. And so I made a sandwich out of that, and then I ate a very good sized bowl of cereal. Raisin Bran, that's my favorite. And then with honey on it and milk, of course. And then 2 apples, and these are the probably regular size apples. And then you know what the average size blender is? I filled that up with bananas and milk, and blended that and drank that down, no problem. And then I probably drank about an equivalent of about 2 glasses of pineapple juice, and then my body was happy.
Mm-hmm. I got somebody in the chat room saying it's taken slowly. Just so that person knows, you've done fasting, 7-day fast before.
Yes.
And it's just not like you're a rookie at this. And that's the advantage of this broth one. It's if you need to begin to work, you can. It's knowing your body. And then once you begin to know what the food does and how long it takes to digest, example, like the chicken and steak you have in there is probably a 4-day digesting problem when you're with all that broth in there. You'll get more of it out of it, but at the same time you have to know that your gut itself has bacteria in it and other organisms and enzymes that break food down differently. And I know that you particularly have an issue with fragrances.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and the gal I worked for yesterday was wearing perfume, too. I got a couple breaths of it. So I did a little struggling during the night last night. And when I got up this morning, I was having to clean some of that out.
Yeah. So
yeah, just a couple breaths, and my sinuses were just messed up.
Well, what you do is you need to transport toxins out of your intestines right now because your body is toxic. I can actually sense the alkaline in this city.
Can you?
Yeah. And what it is there's an energy factor to your body that's creating alkaline, and then there's another physical body that's creating acid. So your body is constantly in a battle between alkaline and acid. And one of the most incredible ways of doing this is going by yogurt. And the difference between Greek yogurt, the good stuff, and regular yogurt, is you just strain it. So you could take any cheap yogurt and go and grab a coffee filter, a paper coffee filter, and fill it up and let it drain for 3-4 hours. And that's Greek yogurt. It's just drained. There's more of the whey that's pulled off. That milk, that's extra excess water that's away, that's called whey, you can drink that, and it's extremely, you can make your own, and if you buy regular, you can extract it. I do it all the time. I was talking to Nighthawk there.
It
I
sounds like he said that he has another way of doing it or something.
Yeah, Nighthawk, if you want to call in and tell us how you do your Greek yogurt, please do, because this is about getting the gut back in order. And George here is going to be doing the fast here.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, you're doing it. So
the last I ate last night was just before Eva's show. I mean, that was when I was finishing up with all that food I was talking about. Just before that, well, anyway. So I haven't eaten since then.
Yeah. So you're going to keep eating your broth until you think your body doesn't got anything left in it.
I'm shooting for at least a week here. That's what I'm shooting for. The only thing, like I said, that has me wondering if I can do it is the work thing. And I'm not in the position. Oh, trust me, Eva's such a beautiful person and stuff. If I was like had bank right now, if I was ahead of the game and not behind the 8 ball, which I am literally right now. Thank goodness I have credit cards and stuff. But anyway, having said that, she'd be the type of person I would love to help out with something. And but I'm just I'm living off borrowed money myself right now, so I can't be turning down any work.
Oh, I know exactly. So what it is you just got to plan your food.
Yeah.
Now, what you're doing when you're on this broth, that's the advantage of this system is if you plan your food to help extract the toxins and out of your body. You need something that acts as a transfer. The first thing is algae, blue-green algae, and seaweed. You can buy those as a pill, or you can add them to your food. Now
I can add that into this whole thing I'm doing right now, right?
You just take it as a pill and you drink it with the broth.
Okay.
Because then what that does is converts the broth into a system of membrane that acts as a transport to take more toxins out. And it
so
prevents,
you said green algae and seaweed.
And seaweed.
Okay.
Those are the two biggest things to extracting toxins from inside the gut. The secondary effect of that is it sucks up a lot of the excess enzymes and bacteria into the algae, and then you just go ahead and send it right out the colon. So it doesn't go through an extensive filtering process through the kidneys, so it doesn't cause your kidneys to be overwhelmed. So this is about detoxifying yourself in a method and manner that allows the body to do it as its own expelling method. When you load it up with broth like you're doing, and then you give it food to digest that is high in fiber, high in nutrition, backed up by stuff that's like yogurt, backed up by stuff that's a different culture, the body, the actual stuff inside the guts gets stirred up, and then the fiber acts as the snowplow, sending it to the colon, and at that point you begin the purge, which is the whole point of the fast in the first place.
So now am I hearing you correctly? You're saying that I'm able to throw some of this Greek yogurt into the mix while I'm doing this fast, and I'm not cheating? Is that what you're saying?
If you're trying to just purge yourself naturally without having to go do an enema or a colonic, yes.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do it. Whatever you say is best, I believe you. So that's what I'm trying to do.
If you have work. If you don't have work, don't add the food. If you have work, add the food.
Okay. I heard you say that, but I wasn't. I am so stubborn, and I really feel, even though I'm not an expert on this, of course, but my gut is telling me the true fast is going to be no solid food, nothing, and just this broth thing. So that's what I want to stick to. I want to stick to it like my life depends on it.
Yep.
So. But you said if some work picks up or something, and of course I explained to you I'm not gonna find myself turning it down. Right. Then I can throw in some of this Greek yogurt you guys are talking about.
That's one aspect. You can then add food, but the food would be something like a high volume salad and kale, something that'll act as the transport mechanism to extract toxins. Any green leafy thing is meant to do that.
Okay, so now this Greek yogurt, I've never even heard of it before.
Do you ever heard of regular yogurt?
Yes, I've heard of regular yogurt.
Okay, well, you take milk and you go through a process to make yogurt. You have a culture that starts, and it takes a while for the culture to grow, and then the particular cultures determine what it is. But in a Greek scenario, it's a lot more of the water. The whey is allowed to take it off, so it's much thicker. So you have a higher concentrate of the culture going into your gut, and that culture is actually what your gut uses to create other microorganisms that break the food down.
So I mean, is it called Greek yogurt?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was hoping that I wasn't going to have to do this culture and everything. I mean, just this broth was quite an undertaking. I swore to myself I was never going to put myself through this again.
I see Nighthawk talking about colon blow.
Cultures and stuff.
No, it's used basically you buy the yogurt and you just eat it. You just eat it. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person, somehow I've made it, if you can believe this, through 60 years of life and never learned how to cook. If so, I don't know if there's always been someone there that could do it for me, or I've just gone and got fast food or something. So yeah. I don't know how I've gotten by.
Don't get fast food. Questions?
No. I don't even mess with that anymore. Once in a great while, and I don't even know why I do it. I'm not really drawn to it anymore.
Hold on a second. I see Suri Flower as a question. Andrew, is there a vegetarian equivalent of the broth that you have talked about? Yes, there is. You start off with 9 or 12 cups of water. You're going to get an onion, some carrots. You're going to throw the onion in with the skin and everything. Just quarter it up, cut the skin and type up the carrot and throw it in there. Ginger, and you can take a piece of ginger and make 7-8 slices. That's like, a good amount for flavor, and whatever other spices you want to put in there, and garlic, and let that simmer for about 4 hours, and that is a vegetable broth. You need some kind of surface oil to add to it. So what I do is at the end of cooking, I'll add like a third of a cup, quarter cup of olive oil, so there's oil mixed inside the vegetable broth. If you don't like that much oil, you can cut it down to less, or you can use some other type of oil.
What's this bulgur wheat that Nighthawk's talking about?
Bulgur wheat. Bulgur is a dried wheat that you boil you simmer for a real short period of time, and you let it expand. It's a different form of spaghetti. It uses a completely different method and form. When you get stuff off of a plant, when you dry it and you crack it, and then you add, you save it, and then you can use it later in food as a filler. Hi, Nighthawk. You're Lebanese. I'm Greek, so I've done a lot of the same things you're talking about. So it's euros versus the other stuff.
That's what I love about this internet thing. I mean, we have we're able to have such a wonderful blend of different cultures and ideas. Makes the world go round. Yeah, sounds like Nighthawk has an incredible knowledge about a lot of this stuff here. About this
maybe Nighthawk should put together a book on yogurt and call it the Revolution Radio Yogurt Book.
What do you know about the probiotic stuff? I see that being mentioned in there too, Andrew. A lot of people seem to be
probiotics. That's if you're into taking pills. For people that want a natural restart. I actually recommend people using probiotics. Dr. Will Spencer on this radio station is an incredible source for probiotics. So his probiotics have the minerals that you need, the actual metal parts. I believe he has 100 different probiotics in there, and that's what you get your body restarted after you've purged yourself. So it's a starter kit culture of your gut.
So that's a follow-up to this.
Right.
Would highly recommended as a follow-up.
Yeah.
Now this broth, but I'll be. How much of this can I drink in like, let's say today when I finally do drink some or something? I haven't had any yet, but later on today I plan on, when I get like an urge. Right now I have no urge to eat, and but later on in the day I might feel that urge because this is the first day. And I know from experience that I'll probably feel it, and so I plan on getting a cupful or a glass full of that broth and having it. How much of that in a day can I have, Andrew?
Honestly, as much as you can tender and not overwhelm yourself, so you're peeing every 5 hours or every 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's meant to substitute. It's meant to substitute the hunger pains.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
when you recognize your body is giving you hunger pain and give it the broth, you're triggering the mind and the body's method of expulsion. That's the energetic channel of satisfying the hunger pain. So as soon as you satisfy the hunger pain, you've fueled and given fusion energy to the lower gut parts of the intestines to crap out whatever's that's there because you've just satisfied it. You're adding energy to the system of expulsion each time you do that.
You know, this broth, I'm sure glad I added some of those spices in there because it was such a wonderful aroma coming off of that pot I was simmering it, had it simmering in. Mm-hmm. It was just wonderful. I'm looking forward. I hadn't even had any of it yet. I took one little sip and that was it. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking forward to it.
When it comes to making a broth, if you look for cookbooks how to make stock, a soup stock, it's the same concept. For those people that wanted vegetarian, there's other things. You can do potatoes. You can add a whole series of things to there because you're getting the final extracted juice out of it, and then you're going to turn the vegetables that are in there, their matter that's in there, into a transport vessel to remove toxins from the body. In the broth system, the fat that's in the broth is actually the transport method. The fat cells absorb the toxic stuff inside the colon or inside the intestinal tract, and as they do that, they don't need to go through the extreme filtering process of the liver or the kidneys. So it allows you to expel toxins that are in the system really fast.
Now, am I expecting that it's going to be about 14 hours or something like Nighthawk's mentioning in here?
Well, Nighthawk's a well-oiled machine.
Oh, I don't think I qualify for that. I'm pretty messed up right now with this.
There are some people out there that have a faster one. Once you start on the vegetable broth and you add food, if you get to work, you could be cut it down to a 7-hour digestive process. And at that point, you're expelling like all sorts of natural stuff out of your body.
So, Andrew, would you expect that within 2 days I'm starting to get purged pretty well? I mean,
I think by the end of the first day, you'll have a very relieving situation.
Yeah. You need not say anymore.
Exactly, the same relieving situation.
Yes.
At that point, it's when you wake up in the morning, you have to realize at that point, you're having coffee, or are you just going straight to the broth? I don't recommend coffee when you're on that because you're adding different nutrients to the body.
I'm on coffee right now.
I know, it's fine.
Oh.
You have to make a choice when you're on the broth diet.
But I mean, I can do the coffee and it's not going to mess it up, right? Because I'm drinking some coffee right now.
Has it got sugar and cream in it?
No, absolutely not. Straight black.
All right, then you got to limit yourself to no more than 2 cups in a day.
Oh, you just.
The reason why is you can't afford the caffeine fall because that'll trigger more desire to eat, and it'll actually tell your body to dissolve muscle first.
But is that the only harm that it's doing to my whole purging thing? Is that it's going to cause me to have hunger pains more? But it's not
also
hurting
cause you to retain water more. Caffeine's a water retainer.
Okay, but I mean, it's not going to be messing with my ability to do what my goal, purging that negative stuff, putrid stuff. That's it can. You just got to realize that what it's doing is making you retain water. Coffee makes you retain water. The caffeine. You're trying to get yourself on an expelling process of liquids, so that the liquids and the solids that are stirred up in the soupy of the internal guts starts to get expelled, because that's how you get rid of the toxins. I'm the type of person that might be a good thing for me to retain some water. I'm the type of person that during the night, I can get up 5-6 times and have to do it like well, I'll use a anatomical term, mixturate, for radio purposes. Well, that may be because you're really experiencing a lot of toxicity in your gut, and I'm just gonna say you got to cut yourself down to 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day while you're on it. Oh, I'll tell you what, a lot of these medical specialists have had me thinking that I'm freaking dying, just ready to just kill over any minute with their talk about, if you get up in the middle of the night and have to have that urge of having to do that more than like once or twice, you've probably got what is it? Pancreatic cancer, or what's the other thing that if you prostate? I'm just lost for the term for it right now. Prostate. Yeah, exactly. You have prostate cancer, and I'm telling you what, it had me so worried. I went in and got checked up, and they said, no, my prostate's fine. I mean, I literally have to fight 5-6, maybe even more during the night. I see I had a question here from Eagle Flower. Talk about total water / broth intake. It actually depends on the person. They tell you can drink 60 or 80 ounces of water a day. When it comes to broth, I break it up into morning, afternoon, evening, and late evening. And I get a Prego spaghetti jar, and I fill it up, so that's like 22 ounces of liquid, 20 ounces of liquid, and I have 4 of those, so that's 80, 90 ounces of liquid. That's what you got to look at. You can do that every day with no problem and still keep yourself purging. If you're adding food on top of it, you have to be very aware of the food. So if you're going to throw food, you want it to be high in fiber, high in the ability to transport toxins out of the body, like anything that's green. Anything that's... Oh, we got a break here. Hold on. Okay. And welcome back, everyone. This is the second hour of Adventures into Reality, and today we are adventuring into the reality of expulsion. Ha ha ha. Georgia, as we were talking, I answered a question about how much you can drink in a day, and honestly, you can drink a lot in a day. 100 ounces should be more than enough for a day. It's basically 25 ounces at a time. It's basically a cup is 8 ounces, so 3 cups. 3 cups should satisfy any urge, any hunger urge, because there's enough leftover fat and broth and nutrient in there that your body will begin stripping the broth of the nutrients that it wants and then beginning to expel the stuff that's on the surface of the intestinal wall. That is great. That is so nice to hear. I'm really I really feel that I can take this into a week at least, because like I said, I made up a lot of this when I did it. I made up a nice, good sized pot. Just so you know, you can actually reuse the bones. A lot of times I recommend 4 to 6 hours for your first broth that you pour off the broth, and then you can put more water in and then add more stuff to the broth. Add more. Oh, I threw them out. It's okay. Well, you can do it again. Honestly, if you got a grocery store next to you that sells beef, just walk there and say, "Hey, do you have any beef bones?" And they'll be like cat bones or shin bones,
and there'll be like $3 for three or four of them. They're like usually like $1 a piece. Just ask the person behind the counter for bones, soup bones, and they'll be there.
I could see myself walking into the store. Anybody have any bones?
No, just go to the meat
And
counter
with my mask on.
Yeah, go to the meat the meat counter. The guy that puts the meats out. To say, hey, I need some soup bones, and they'll say, what do you want? You say shin, calf, knee, something for a good soup bone. And a lot of times the bone will have some meat on it, which is fine because if you boil it for 4, 6, or 7 hours, the meat, everything in the meat will be expelled out, and the last piece of the meat will just be a piece of sponge for the material that's there.
I don't think anybody knows that much probably about where I live, but I'm like I said, I'm living here in Tulare, California, in the Central Valley. This is agricultural country. I am surrounded by dairies and big. The dairy industry is huge here. I can drive out any road out here, out away from the city here, and there you'll see cows grazing, and big farm cow operations with lots of cows, a lot of cattle and stuff, and what's amazing is that I really feel I would have a very difficult time obtaining any raw milk here. I don't know how I would even do it.
Well,
I'm sure I could pull it off.
You'd have to ask, and again, you could. If you're in that situation, you said you were a carpenter, a handyman.
Yeah. I try to do it all. Jack of all trades, master of absolutely none. That's me.
Well, I know that scenario. My uncle was like that and taught me well when I was young, trying to learn construction. If you take the time to look into some cheese making, you'll be surprised that your handy skills could probably help you make cheese at your own home that would be all natural. You can buy regular milk, store-bought milk, and then you can buy the rennet and the other additive that brings it back to an ability to make a cheese and then add it yourself. It's really not difficult. I make cheese and bread here at my house. I don't buy bread from anywhere. The cheese that I make is like a soft cheese that goes through a cheesecloth for a couple days and drains it out, and then I'll make a French feta also. Anyways, I was telling you about cheese. He's looking for a call-in to listen. This is just a call-in number.
Yeah, it's cool.
I was telling you, you could actually make cheese on your own. Basically it's a little wood box with a screen on it if you're making bigger versions of cheese. And there's numerous videos out there that you could learn, watch. I recommend that for anybody out there. Trader Joe's or places like that sell the rennet. That's the additive to the milk when you're simmering it. So as you're making the cheese, and then you're going to add it to the cheesecloth and drain it out. It's one of those artisanal ideas that anybody can return to if you have the desire to. If you really want to control your spirituality, it's know the food that you're putting into it.
Andrew, you say easy for you on that cheese thing, but you wouldn't believe. I thought this handyman stuff was very demanding. When I went to make up this broth, you wouldn't believe how incredibly difficult it was for me.
That's because
I never wanted to have to go through this again.
That's because you cook everything by microwave.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only
difference. That's why it's difficult for you, because you haven't returned to the concept that the food you're creating, you're putting your essence into.
I hear you.
There are things that come from alchemy that have aspects to that type of story, the way you described it. And alchemy is another spiritual outlook into what you're putting in your body and what you're getting out of your body. Alchemy doesn't necessarily revolve around a single religion, because it's about transforming materials and using your body as body or some type of device as the method of transformation. And then ultimately your body and your spirit is the benefactor of what you're transforming. To say that Ormus or that other stuff works, I don't prescribe to it. I believe you can reach a natural state through making your own food and returning to as much of a natural method as you can. And that includes eating meat for those that want to eat meat. But it's really about preparing your food and understanding what you're putting in and how you're getting your toxins out. And from that point is how you create your spirituality, because what goes in comes out. And at the same time, the food that you go in helps co-create the higher levels of awareness that you have.
Yeah, I really put a lot of credence in everything you say. I mean, I go by my intuition totally anymore, and everything you say, everything you do, all your mannerisms, everything just has such a ring of just being the truth. It just makes sense. Everything you say makes sense. I can relate to it. So. But on the other hand, this other stuff, I'm like you. I kind of a little bit, so it almost sounds like, and of course I don't know, but I kind of relate it to being a snake oil salesman back in the day. But of course I could be totally wrong, and it'd be totally something legitimate. So, but I was just wondering if you knew anything about that.
I see a question here. Purple Man's 173. Can you talk about the connection to pH in the body, alkaline versus acidic, in terms of biophysical, environmental, genetic responses via food, water, sunlight? That's actually a very complex question, Purple Man, and I'll try to break it down in layers that I can understand it. When you have a body that's in pH, that means it's tuned. The water and the solubles that are in the water are tuned to the process of incoming fluids and exgoing fluids, so that the pH stays at a level where the body stays alkaline, which is creating higher volumes of energetic material the body needs. Acidic meaning it is breaking down the chemicals inside the gut, and after a while there's so much acid in the gut it can cause the pH to be out of balance. Now, on a biophysical, environmental, genetic response via food, water, and sunlight, that's ultimately how you get the body back into processing, back into a balanced state, by allowing your genetic responses via food, water, and sunlight to go through that process of expulsion. On an environmental level, if you're in a room or in a place that has lots of negative stuff in there, it would be beneficial for you to learn how to get that out of your body. If you're in a heavy metals explored or something to that effect, taking the time to know that food properly done can help you transport the toxic materials out of your body. That's the best way I can answer that question, Purple Man.
Purple Man sounds like very, very deep into this knowledge base of this stuff. I mean, that was quite a question, huh?
George, where were you?
Well, I was just well, right now, I'm on that fast that you recommended, and I'm feeling really good. I was really elated about it, but I dropped down a small little notch when you said that I had to cut back on the caffeine. I love me caffeine.
Caller, are you there?
But I'm going to do that.
I see Diana.
I am so looking forward to this. Hey, Andrew, you don't mind if I chime in here and there along my way on this fasting thing, right?
No, not at all. I enjoy that you share it.
Fantastic. That's nice to hear.
I want this to be an interactive show. I want people to call in and say, all right, I decided to do a fast, or I've done fast before. I want you to be able to ask me as many questions as you can.
Well, I for one can say I am feel so blessed that you came into my life. I just I've been looking for ways to grow spiritually, and you're like having the key to the lock that I didn't have to finally open the door once and for all.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So well, I'm just enamored with the whole idea of growing more spiritually and stuff. And this fasting thing, I think is a good thing. I'm getting a high out of it just thinking about continuing on with this and how it's going to be, especially like into the second and third day and so on and so forth. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like. I love experimenting.
Why don't you tell people what it was like doing some of your other fasts? What day 4, day 5 was like? You know, what did you experience in some of your other fasts?
Well, in the other fasts, the first one I ever did, I think I did it for three and a half days, maybe, or something like that. It's my best memory, and it was enlightening. I mean, as I had mentioned before, after the first day, I really, all the hunger stuff, hunger pains, the urges, all that went away. I wasn't hungry anymore. And the best of my recollection, it was about the second day or so. So in other words, like, this is my first day. I haven't eaten, again, just to mention, I haven't eaten since early evening yesterday. So today is actually my first day that I'll be actually totally fasting, and right now I have no hunger, no desire. I feel really good, but then again, I prepared for this rather well. You should have seen all. I don't know if it's cheating or not, but I ate a little bit extra during the weekend knowing I was going to do this. But anyway, now as I sit here, I have no hunger. No desires, no nothing. But anyway, to get back to my experience of the other fast that I did, and I did it twice. The first one, like I said, was about 3.5 days, I think, but let's just call it 3 days. And it went so well, that I thought, and that I felt that I wanted to do it longer just to see what that was like. And so, but it wasn't right away. I think it was like months down the line. But the second time I did it was 7 days. And it was just, like I said, about the second day, all the hunger and everything went away, and I just was absolutely not hungry, but it was like a high in itself, almost euphoric. I just felt just so good, and of course I was a lot lighter and got lighter as far as weight wise too, but that wasn't my actual goal in doing it, and especially like I've mentioned before, if anybody sees me, they in fact one of my neighbors just the other day when I was talking about doing this fast, she goes, "You don't need to lose any weight. What do you know?" And I said, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's more of a purging, a cleaning out my system is the goal that I have in doing this. She goes, "Oh, okay, I can see that." She's the one that actually loaned me the pot to do it in. Nice stainless steel with a cover on it. And it was a good size, so I was able to make up a nice size brew. But to get back about the my experience with the other fasts, the 7-day one was very enlightening, it's just so amazing. And someone that's never fasted before, that's into the regular eating and of course we all love. Well, I can speak for myself. I love eating. It's so enjoyable, but it's so amazing, and you would never know unless you actually experienced it, how easy it is after the first or second day. It's amazing how all that hunger desire goes away. you just feel so good and just and lighter and lighter. I mean, when I was it's just nice not having anything in the intestines and in the colon and stuff. It's a wonderful feeling. And like I said, the only way I can describe it, it's euphoric. But having said that, on my 7th day when I finally was doing that, I felt that I could have gone a lot longer. And I think I remember you mentioning that you felt that I probably could have gone a month with no problem.
I've known many people that have gone for a month. Thanks for calling in. Do you have a question for us? Something to add to the chat? Something you want to say?
Well, I've been enjoying your conversation. I have personally never done a fast. I'm gearing myself up for it. And my personal intuition is telling me that I should do the raw salads and a roughage for about a week. I'm already collecting my chicken bones. Just pre-preparation, I think, is probably what my question might be.
Pre-preparation, well, anything you do ahead of time, it's to add roughage to your body, to your system, and then fluids, because you want the intestines to really get stirred up. So anything you do ahead of time is getting rid of stuff that you won't have to get rid of later, because you're going to get down to the brass tacks of the putrefied stuff on the gut wall, because the vegetable matter that you're taking in is going to act as the snowplow.
Right.
So in the beginning of the conversation I had with George, he was asking, do I just drink broth? Well, when you just want a straight purge, what you could do would be 3 days of just the broth, but once a day you take a very big volume of salad. Like, let's say you take kale, dandelions, whatever way you put it together to make it, good volume, good tasting for you. You could have oil on it. It's just, you want to limit it to those vegetables, so that literally it's just going in as the snowplow, and you can add that once or twice a day in between the broth. And what that'll do is will increase the snowplow effect each time you have the hunger pains, because you're gonna space it. You'll be getting rid of that stuff like every 7 or 8 hours.
And meanwhile, don't plan on leaving home anytime soon, I would presume, too.
No, honestly, you can. You can. It's just, you'll know right away. You'll know right away, because once you get your body back into the expulsion process, you'll know. You'll know how much time you have between when you eat and it's ready to come out.
All right.
The vegetables are your method of removing toxin. I've known Diane for some time now. You were in the military and you were a nutrition specialist?
Yes, I graduated in dietetics.
Dietetics. So,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So she's quite familiar. From dietetics, what do you know that's inside soup broth? What is it that it tells you?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, there's just a lot of proteins and amino acids and so on. A lot of, because they're from the marrow is a very rich part of the body, and it's the storage area of a lot of nutrients. So it would be a lot of mineral. The only thing I question on is the length of time of the simmering. But I guess that would be necessary in order to work through into the marrow area for your broth.
4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
Basically, you get 9 cups of water, 12 cups of water, or whatever the size of the pot you're going to make.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it comes to a boil, lower it to temperature 2.
Yeah. Down just so that it continues.
Yeah.
A low simmer.
A little simmer. And if you know your bone, let's say, example, you get a big calf bone or you get a little hoof bone or whatever, you're going to cook it less. You don't want to overcook it. But knowing your product is really important. A lot of times that I'll get a neck bone, a pork neck bone, and you can cook soup out of that too.
Mm-hmm. I think the vegetarian broth sounds interesting too, because the process I would suspect might be a little different, and might even in some ways be a little bit easier on the intestines.
It
is what
is.
I'm thinking.
It is.
Yeah.
The difference between the two is how it satisfies your hunger pains. For the people that are vegetarian, I say add the olive oil on there, because the olive oil, right away the body will recognize it as something it can use. And as it mixes with the rest of the stuff of the broth, it'll act as a method of transport to give the body nutrients, or for the body to put negative material in and then expulse.
Yeah, I've never done fasting before, and so I am looking forward to doing this in a very methodical way that'll do the best work for me, too.
Yeah.
So I can see that a lot of the people in chat are considering doing this, because they're expressing some concerns over their buildup over the years, too. And the reason that I'm interested in it is you were talking about the other day of how we hold within us through our cellular memory old business that really does need to be expelled. And since I'm in the process of where I'm at right now, I think this is very appropriate for me to do, and would be very energizing for me to complete it.
I'd like you to update us on it so people can understand what it does for you. Maybe you'll call in as you do it, or maybe you can give some tips for other people how to make it for them. I
Sure.
described the vegetarian one is you can use all sorts of vegetables with it, and when you're boiling vegetables down, you could even do spinach. You can do all sorts of stuff. Dandelions. You can really make a witch's brew of boil down.
The kale would be good in a long-term vegetable broth, I would think. The one thing you didn't mention on the broth, you said to leave the vegetables as whole as possible, or as large chunked as possible, such as the onions and the carrots.
Yes. You're going to eat those afterwards.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to ask, because you just, during the fasting process, you're literally just drinking the broth that's been strained. And so we're going to hold on to the other veggies until later. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. The thing about this type of fast, you can eat during it because you understand what you're giving the body is ultimately meant for it to use as a method of exporting toxins. In your situation, you've never done a fast before, and unless you've had spoiled milk or food poisoning and you've expelled everything from your lower body, you probably still have stuff in there from 30 years ago.
Well, I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised at the way that you're describing it.
I mean, literally, you could have stuff in it that would be 30 years old, and when you're going through this expulsion process, you're going to be like, wow, that smells. And that is your own proof of what the quality and toxicity of what you're expulsing out.
Well, I know I'm toxic. I know that.
I actually sense an acidity in your lower intestine and a high level of alkaline in your stomach. So the digestive parts of your stomach are good, but your middle and lower intestines is where you're losing it, and that's where a series of I don't want to call them blockages. They're really not. It's like when you have hardened artery, except on a different scale, it's on the inside of the intestine, which prevents that part of the intestine from absorbing what it's supposed to.
Right.
It's like a film.
And exactly. And to make matters worse, I can tell it on the rest of my body that I'm not absorbing my nutrients properly. I know that.
Right. And skin conditions, stuff like that show up.
Yes. Yep, that be me right here.
So
I think another thing too, you haven't really touched on this. I saw someone expressing concern. I think they were a vegetarian for most of their life. And in the last year or two, they're showing some signs, some side effects. I'm just wondering, again, here we go back to our quality of our food. Even though a vegetarian would be eating very closely to raw in general. I'm very concerned about our produce these days.
Me too.
And I haven't intuitively found anything that would complement that type of a diet. I'm thinking of foods in general. I mean, you know, we've been told for years canned foods aren't worth anything nutritionally. I think the nutrition aspect is what I'm really talking about here.
I think for a person that's switching from a vegetarian to a semi-different type of diet, whatever it's be, I honestly think juicing, brothing, creating your own vegetable garden, even if it's just mint and other stuff like that, and then turning that into teas or pickling that, I think that's your biggest advantage of expanding your ability to cook and store food.
Okay. And another thing I've been wanting to try, and it might be helpful for others too, is the sprouting.
Yes.
I think that might be what would help us get back onto a healthy eating regimen again too.
Mm-hmm.
The other
If
thing,
they don't outlaw it first.
well, no, well, we're talking finding organic raw grains at this point. I mean, really, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
A bulk seed that we can do sprouting in. The other thing that I know has been discussed a lot, I'm not sure if it's been that much here on this show, is the proper intent of most people call praying before in front of their food.
Yes.
And maybe that's something I'd be appropriate to discuss right now, because no matter what quality of our food is, we want to accept only as the original creator of all designed it for us. And maybe you would find the right words to express that for us, Andrew, because I think a lot of us here in chat right now would like to hear that.
Oh, I'll give you a good answer for that. Food is the way to your heart, and it's the way you connect to your family. If you're going into a process of cooking food for your fast, it's an opportunity for you to learn how your personal investment of prayer energy can help you heal your own body. Now, George had said this is the first time he's cooked in a long time. He needed a pot. He needed a way to cook it, and he put it and he did it, and now he's got it in his refrigerator and freezer. That is something he took time out of his normal daily life and did. Now, alternatively, during that time while it's boiling and every time you stir it, you can offer it words of prayer. Thank you, friend chicken broth or stew or whatever it is for creating world with me, for allowing an opportunity for me to ingest and take into the sacred waters or the food that I'm creating. You can thank the different ingredients, as you're cutting and chopping it, and you're putting it in there. And each time you do it, you can hold your hand over it and allow the steam to enter your lungs, so that you bond with what you're creating. Because it is a creation, and a creation of your heart that is meant to help you heal. If you invest, and procreate with those words of prayer during the creation process of your broth or whatever food that it is that you're making, your expulsion process will have that as part of it also, because it is part of that cycle that you're creating. And when you invest spiritual energy into that cycle, you get spiritual expulsion, which allows you to process more information in your life.
And we should be doing that with our water or beverage that we drink, I would think also.
Everything and anything. It's your level of investment into that subject.
Mm-hmm.
I see
I think gratitude is very...
I see I had a question in here. Hold on, we'll get back to that conversation in a second. Can you ask what connection does endocannabinoid system and endocrine system play in the role of detoxifying the body, and how cannabis juicing would play into this? If the plants detoxify the body of metals, will the plants extract do the same much of as live plants? That is a very complex question. And I understand what he's talking about. I have personally instructed people how to do the cannabis juicing that were detoxifying from cancer treatment, and ultimately they cured their own cancer a number of times. And it's not a difficult. If you learn how to the basic concepts of juicing, you can juice cannabis, but it requires you to have the plant material to do it. If anybody's going to juice cannabis, I recommend that you do it 2 days a week to start with, and then understand that you're trying to mass extract heavy metals from your body. And when you're doing that, you can stress out your liver, you can stress out your kidneys. So you have to do it in a method and a manner that allows the body to naturally expel, as well as use the stuff you're putting in it to expel. So you could have cannabis juice one day, and the next day have a very high fiber juice, or like example, kale or dandelions. You can make a big mess of a salad, like 2 or 3 or 4 servings, and eat all of it during the day. So, or 5 servings of it in a day. And then the amount of material that would be in your gut, and that would be transporting heavy metal material out, along with the down into a juice machine that doesn't overturn it and doesn't break the materials up, so you're getting the most amount of raw soil right pressed out of it into your body, direct into your system, and then the material in your gut will be the expulsion method. And the raw bloom of the cannabinoids in your blood will literally help the blood filter out heavy metals, because it's the very nature of the cannabinoids is what it's doing, is it saturates the body. That's the answer to that person's question. There are some more even complex answers in which you could mix a diet where you could make a cannabis juice 2 days a week, and then substitute broth, like a vegetable broth, and then literally double consume kale and dandelions, and you would be able to, the best way I'll describe it, if you had somebody that just came off of chemotherapy and Coumadin and was on extreme amounts as for, say, whatever cancer that was, normally it would take them 9 or 10 months to detox from that. They could probably detox in 45 days that way and still not put their kidneys at risk. That would be the most important part. I've successfully used a similar diet on somebody that had rejected 2 kidneys and was going through a phase that if he probably wasn't going to get another kidney unless he straightened out his body. And I got him on 4 sets of fasts and did that, and he was able to get a kidney, and he had never rejected it since then because it returned his body to neutral.
Andrew, I have a question. I noticed yesterday, it seems like my body right now wants to rotate, one day maybe having more of a fruit day, another day going heavier on the greens, the salads, and so on. Does that sound normal?
In your situation, you're trying to balance the alkaline versus acid. As I said, your stomach is neutral, but your intestines are acidic.
Okay.
Or it's the other way around in another part of your intestine. And that's because you just got to flush it all out.
Okay.
In your situation, Diane, it would probably be really worth it for you to take something that could help you expulse it and then do the diet. Mm-hmm. A home enema kit, or doing a colonic, or if you're not into doing that, is don't take stool softener. Just really double up on the fibers, so ahead of it, because once you start realizing what you're getting out, you'll really understand what it is to have a clear gut, because George described it. It was really pleasant to have a clear gut.
Yeah. Okay, so
are you going to do it next week? Is that when?
Well, I'm working on getting my little internal calendar going here so that I am
psyched up.
Right. I mean, how psyched up can you get for this? But
you've done it. You'll look forward to it again. I'm
sure. No, well, to me, I think this is going to be part of the process, because Swede just asked here, which is very pertinent to my situation, I think. In what order do you cleanse the organs? And the first thing, obviously, are the intestines and the kidneys, because they are what transmit out the toxins. And I think my gut is, or intuition is telling me that then I take a break and eat healthy for several weeks and then do it over again is what I'm thinking.
Exactly. I've helped a number of people that have had their first fast, and some of them will literally, forgive the harshness of the term, crap out 22 pounds of stuff in 30 days, and they'll do 4 4-day fasts during a month. And if they blend it right, literally you're gonna find yourself losing 30 pounds if you've never fasted before.
Well, that would be wonderful.
I mean, you would be walking with a light step. I'm really serious.
Yeah, and then I can do my dancing.
Yeah. Hawk has said good old-fashioned dates, figs, and prunes. Absolutely, anything like that really helps you grease up the skids down there.
Can I make a cautionary note on that, by the way? Those items can be very hard for an intestine that is already not feeling well. Harsh is what I should say. I would use as a cautionary note. I think if your system is running well, that totally would be great. But they do tend to be harsh, especially on older people or somebody whose intestinal system is not functioning well to begin with.
Most of the time they're not functioning well because they're clogged up so bad that when you give something like that, you just crap off the surface stuff, but the putrefied there is still there. It's basically like re-asphalting a pavement. You cleared it out, but you never cleared out the rotten stuff underneath.
Yeah.
And if you got into a method of purging and you actually cleaned out the original stuff and get it down to the original surface wall of the intestine, and then allow that intestinal wall to heal, because it will go through a healing process. That's why I recommend 4 4-day fasts in a month if somebody's really serious about doing it. And you can make different broths for your day. You can plan different salads. If you plan ahead of time and you know when you're going to eat and you know how to use your broth, the second, third, and fourth fast, you'll be really getting deep into expulsing the stuff.
That sounds good. I'm feeling more confident.
Oh, good. Here's another thing you can do. I talked about making the vegetarian version. If you're want to do like a bunch of broth, you can do 1 vegetable, 1 beef, and 1 chicken. There are people that do a fish too, that fish bones. I recently had a bunch of trout bones that I had left out. I had a trout dinner for some friends that were over here, so I had about 4 leftover trouts, the trout heads, and I put those all into a broth, and shrimp guts that I had left over, had frozen. Save all that stuff, because all of that stuff can be turned into a broth.
Yes.
Okay? And when you decide that you want to add food to your broth diet, it's a good idea and a bad at the same time. You got to know what you're expulsing. So whatever you're going to put in, it's to help transport out more stuff.
Yep.
You got the ever continuing layer of your gut. What you're putting in is what's pushing it out. But once it's cleared out, that's when you got to determine how you're going to restart it. Dr. Will Spencer is on this station, and he has a probiotic formula that's outstanding. And
is it his own formula?
Yeah, it's his own formula. I seen Nighthawk say he screwed up his liver 2030s. It's unrepairable. Honestly, you could repair your liver, because most of that you probably did from heavy metal damage. And the liver is difficult to do, but it could be done. You could even do that through a cannabis extracting and regenerate your liver. I helped somebody do that last year.
You're talking about using cannabinoic acid to repair the liver?
Cannabis, actually.
Oh, okay.
Cannabis. It's Nighthawk's making a comment in the chat.
I saw that. Yeah.
And it's all about hash oil at that point for him. No, serious.
It's all about
I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of people heal their cancer from using hash oil.
Okay.
Hemp oil, the extract. Raw green stuff, putting it in their diet, their cancer goes away, their liver regenerates.
Well, there is hemp oil on the market, that much I do know. I don't know if that's just meant for topical or for, you can take it internally too, huh?
Hemp oil as a topical solution is amazing.
Okay.
For anybody that has psoriasis, instead of smoking a joint, get hemp oil. Get the cannabis oil and put it on your psoriasis. It'll go away forever. Eczema, psoriasis, all of that, it'll go away forever.
Really?
Yeah. Those people that are risking, needing a liver transplant because they did too much alcohol or chromium or some type of other heavy metal situation, you can also regenerate your liver by doing a proper diet, expelling all the crap in your gut, and then starting hemp oil or creating your own, so you're juicing it, because that is the way the body will regenerate itself, is by having the cannabinoids in the system so that it can create the new foundation of material growth. Mm-hmm. It's its interaction with it. It's its purpose.
Purple Man sounds like he's an expert on that stuff.
Well, Purple Man sounds like he's been expert of hard knocks here, and he's learned how to work himself out of it. And that's what we're all about doing. Yeah. Yes, it sounds like I've got some dedicated time here that I need to concentrate on doing this, because after the initial bout of going through the initial fasting, then my cells are going to have an opportunity throughout my body to cleanse. And that's why we have the ongoing process that you mentioned for approximately a month.
Right. Yeah. And I know two people that actually crapped out over 50 pounds. Okay, I was looking here at my notes. And
you have a way of putting things, Andrew.
I was just going to ask, and how did they make up everything weight?
Well, I had them weigh themselves at the beginning and what they weighed themselves at the end.
All right.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Hello, let's create, let's co-create, and let's change this world with love. No matter if you're from Alpha Centauri or Earth, we all began with the same birthing process. We live in a limited point of view. Living the mystical life daily is about striving for the unlimited point of view. Each day, each human being gets an infinite amount of choices. The level of awareness that you are working at means you have a responsibility to be equal with it. How does one truly let go of expectation? You could make the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep sacred. The keys to success: choice, 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 and choice.